Finally, yes, I know this is over a week late, but I just had a very stressful week last week. So, and I also kind of wanted to see the second time before I reviewed it. Either way, let's go. John Wick Chapter 4 is a brand new 2023 action film directed by Chad Stahelski, and it stars Keanu Reeves, Lawrence Fishburne, Ian McShane, Bill Skarsgård, Donnie Yen, Clancy Brown, Shamir Anderson, Hiroyuki Sanada, Scott Adkins, and obviously Lance Reddick. And yes, like I said, this is over a week late. I was very busy last week, never got around to it. Plus, I want to see it a second time, like I said. So I finally saw it a second time this past weekend, and honestly, I like this movie even more than I did the first time. So let's go ahead and jump into this review because I know everybody, all three of my viewers, have been waiting on this movie review. So, starting off with the good for John Wick Chapter 4, and I am very happy to report this is still a very strong action franchise. This is still an amazing entry into the franchise. Starting off with the acting and the characters, there's a lot. First of all, you have obviously Keanu Reeves as John Wick, and he is very toned down on the dialogue compared to the past three movies. But he still gives a really great performance. Like I said, for me, Keanu Reeves is synonymous with the character of John Wick at this point, and he just knows how to play this character. He's absolutely amazing. You have Ian McShane as Winston once again. Really great. I really liked his character arc in this movie. After what was set up in John Wick Chapter 3 at the very end, I thought that this was a really interesting way to take the character after the events that transpired at the end of 3 after he shoots John Wick off the roof of the Continental, presumably taking a villainous turn. I really like how they paid it off in this movie. And then you have Lawrence Fishburne back as the Bowery King. Much bigger role in this movie than he had in Chapter 2 and Chapter 3. He, once again, obviously just hams it up, steals the show every time he's on screen. Lawrence Fishburne obviously just having so much fun with this role, and I'm really happy that we got to see him in a bigger role this time around. And then you have the character played by Hiroyuki Sanada. He's only in one segment of the movie, but he still does a really great job. Hiroyuki Sanada is just a really great actor. He always gives a grade A badass performance. Really loved him in Bullet Train. Really loved him as Scorpion in the Mortal Kombat movie. Hope he comes back for the sequel. And he's obviously really, really great here. He kicks some ass. And you also have the main... I'm not even going to call this character a villain because he's really not. But he's the main opponent to John Wick in this movie. The character of Kane, played by Donnie Yen. And first of all, if I had $1 where Donnie Yen played a blind badass who steals the show and beats the shit out of people with a walking stick, I'd have $2. And yeah, Donnie Yen, absolutely amazing in this movie. Real badass, like Donnie Yen always is. Just really love the Kane character as a whole. Great character arc, great character development. And I really love the angle they use with the character, where instead of just being the assassin that's after John Wick, he actually has history with John Wick. He respects John Wick. He cares about John Wick. And he's only pulled into this war under a threat made against him and his family. And I just really love the way he plays the character. I really love how he ends up helping John Wick near the end of the movie. Really great stuff with the character. And then you have a character just named The Harbinger, played by Clancy Brown. And Clancy Brown's just one of those actors that shows up and really just his presence and his voice steal the show. And really, he's just there to stand there and talk. And just the way he delivers these lines, absolutely demanding your attention. Just absolutely terrific performance from Clancy Brown. Would love to see more of his character in a future installation into this franchise, whether it's the Ballerina movie series, I don't remember, or a possible John Wick 5. I don't know what they do with that. But either way, really love Clancy Brown. And then you have the character Mr. Nobody, played by Shamir Anderson, and he does a really great job. I have not seen Shamir Anderson in really anything else, but he does a really great job. I love a spinoff about this character, really. Really great performance from him. And then you have the villains of this movie. First, you have the character played by Bill Skarsgård, the Marquis de Gramont, and he is a really great character. Probably my favorite John Wick villain now, and honestly, Bill Skarsgård is really proving himself to be more than just Pennywise the Clown. Obviously, he was great in the It movies, but he really ups his game in this movie. The character that he plays is such an arrogant little prick that you really want to see John Wick kill this guy. He just plays the character extremely well. He's extremely demeaning. He's very contradicting. Very, very great character. Like I said, just absolutely amazing work from Bill Skarsgård. And then you have one character who, like Hiroyuki Sanada, only shows up in one segment of this movie, and that is the character of Killa, played by Scott Adkins. And he is just absolutely crazy in this movie. Apparently there's this giant trend of well-known actors wearing a fat suit and hamming it up and giving a corny-ass performance. Jared Leto in House of Gucci, Tom Hanks in Elvis, and now Scott Adkins in this movie. But Scott Adkins just does a phenomenal job in this movie. His entire sequence of the movie, huge standout in a whole movie of standout sequences. Just really love the crazy performance that Scott Adkins brings. And that's about all for the characters. I will get to one character in a little bit of a mixed aspect later on, but that's about all for the characters here. And moving on to other stuff in this movie. First of all, story, really great. It's a 3-hour movie, but that runtime really flies by because it's just so thrilling from beginning to end. There's really no room to breathe with how many action scenes we're getting here. It's just absolutely crazy how everything plays out. You got John, once again, on the run after the events of John Wick Chapter 3, and he's going on this little bit of a globe-trotting mission to try and clear his name once again, and he runs into some new allies, some new enemies. It's just really thrilling, and the way that everything pays off at the end of this movie, really great. And the action sequences are top notch in this movie. Easily best action sequences in the entire franchise. And that's coming from a franchise with nothing but top notch action sequences. You get this really great hotel shootout near the beginning, some really great chase sequences, and the entire third act just jumps from set piece to set piece. I mean, you get this street fight. You get a whole scene set in that huge famous roundabout in Paris. I don't remember what it's called. I'm terribly sorry. And then you get this abandoned building scene with this big overhead shootout. And just the way it's shot and edited is just so amazing and badass and breathtaking. I'm sorry. I'm running out of words to describe this scene. It's just absolutely terrific. It's kind of an homage to a 2019 video game called the Hong Kong Massacre. I've never played the game, but I have seen gameplay, and I want to believe that this is an homage to it. And then it leads to this really great stairway fight scene. It really gives the Daredevil stairway fight scene a run for its money. That's just how thrilling this stairway sequence is. Just absolutely terrific. And that's just the third act of the movie. You get really great fight scenes throughout the rest of the movie as well, especially between John Wick and the character of Killa, played by Scott Adkins. Really great sequence, really well lit. The cinematography in this movie is insane. It's just absolutely beautiful how this movie was shot. I'm really excited for Chad Stahelski's adaptation of Ghost of Tsushima, because that game has some amazing cinematography. So I'm really excited to see the cinematography that Chad Stahelski comes up with the adaptation of that. But either way, A beautiful cinematography, great score, great soundtrack, editing is top notch. Like I said, this is probably going to end up being my favorite movie of the year if other movies later this year don't step up their game. But either way, that's about all for the good. I'm going to move on to a little bit of a mixed aspect here. And this is not something I personally am mixed on. This is just something I want to throw in as a spoiler warning. This whole segment is kind of a spoiler. It's something that I've seen some mixed reactions to through different audience members. So if you don't want this movie spoiled yet, skip from this section. But there's a bit within the first 20 minutes of this movie where Winston and Sharon are called to meet with the Marquis, played by Bill Skarsgård. And first of all, Sharon, played by Lance Reddick, still an absolutely terrific character. I saved his character for this missed aspect because of this scene. But still, Lance Reddick still does an amazing job. May he rest in peace. There's this scene, his only scene in the movie, where the Marquis kills him. Sharon is dead within the first 20 minutes of this movie. And I've seen some people say that it was unnecessary, it didn't need to happen. I highly disagree. Sharon's death is the catalyst that sets off the actual story of this movie. It's what made Winston realize, wow, the High Table does not give a shit about me. They're a bunch of fucking assholes. I'm gonna align back with John and tell him exactly how he can kill this guy to avenge my friend. That, to me, is a very important aspect of this movie that I see a lot of people not really understanding. Sharon's death was very necessary. It needed to happen for the entire plot to move forward. And honestly, it's a very touching death. And knowing that Lance Reddick is no longer with us, his final line in this movie just hits so much harder. What he says to Winston right before he dies, it's a very, very impactful line, just knowing that he's no longer with us. So I just wanted to point that out. I really wanted to talk about that. That's also another reason I waited a week to talk about this movie, to give people more of a chance to see it before I talked about that scene. But that's all for the mix. On to the bad. And I'm not even going to waste your time. There's nothing bad about this movie. There's just nothing. So on to the final thoughts. This is an amazing movie. Probably the best in the franchise for me. Top-notch action film. Probably going to end up being my favorite movie of the year. John Wick Chapter 4 is one hell of a conclusion to the John Wick franchise, for now at least. And I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. So that was my thoughts on John Wick Chapter 4. Have you seen this movie yet? What did you think about it? Let me know down in the comments. As always, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all next time.